Hey, I'm Rejected Shotgun. So there's an interesting question that's been floating around the community a little bit. Is the PTR useless? Of course, it's not completely useless. You can find small bugs, visual glitches, cooldown, animation cancels, little things like that are discovered on the PTR. So in that regard, I would not say the PTR is useless. But take these statistics from Stir, a popular Overwatch player. Brigitte was put on the PTR on February 28th. Then she was released on the live servers on March 20th, which is nearly 1 month later. So Brigitte was on the PTR for nearly 1 month. Then she was not put into competitive until April 30th, which is over 1 month. So about 2.5 months after she's on the PTR, she gets put into competitive. And you would think in that time, she would be able to be totally figured out, balanced, and made to work very smoothly. So that's 61 days of testing Brigitte, with half of those being in quick play on the live servers. So you would think, given those 61 days of testing, the guys over at Blizzard would be able to kind of understand what makes her tick and that she might be overpowered in certain situations, especially if the community outcry is loud, which it has very much been for Brigitte. Well, 4 days after Brigitte has been put into competitive, she now has a nerf announced and it has been put onto the live servers. The first nerf to hit Brigitte is now available on live servers, and there's another nerf for her that has gone onto the PTR for further testing. So the question is, given the situation with Brigitte, is the PTR useless? Now, at the beginning of the video, I said it wasn't totally useless because the PTR is good for testing things like animation canceling glitches and little visual bugs and things like that. So the PTR has its use, but the use case for the PTR actually being useful and required for testing balance changes seems to be a little misguided, because it seems that the PTR is not as useful as it could be, or there's something going wrong where Blizzard is not fully able to realize the implications that some of these hero abilities have just by seeing the PTR data. When you go on the PTR and you play Brigitte, you're probably going to be like, wow, she's super overpowered, this is hilarious. So then she gets all the way into being put into competitive 2 months later, and she's still the same character with the same cooldowns, with the same overpoweredness, and then Blizzard's like, oh, well, now that she's in competitive, we can kind of see she's a little overpowered. The question really arises, why did it take 60 days for Brigitte to be noticed that she was very, very powerful when it was clear to almost everybody fighting her that she was far too powerful throughout all of the 60 days of testing? So really, the question is a little bit less, is the PTR useless? And the question really is Blizzard listening to the community's feedback as much as they should be? Which is interesting because Blizzard is one of those companies that really does listen to player feedback. But in the case of Brigitte, I feel, and many others, including Stir, feel that it's not exactly feeling a lot like that Blizzard is listening very carefully, because it was quite obvious that Brigitte was very powerful, maybe too powerful for being the support character that she is. And now that she is getting nerfed 64 days later actually, it's kind of clear that Blizzard may not have been listening as much as we're used to them listening. Here's another example from Stir once again, who has pretty much been spearheading this whole idea. Blizzard World had 101 days before it officially launched into competitive. Then, 23 days after it's in competitive, it received a huge update adjusting major parts of the map on the second point. Now, it took 124 days in total to fully work out Blizzard World, while 101 of those days were taking place inside of basically quick play and testing and all of that. It was on PTR and quick play for a long time. Many complaints were raised, especially in the competitive Overwatch subreddit, and yet still, Blizzard waited 23 days after it was in competitive to push out an update to the PTR and then push it back into the live servers. So what is the deal here? Why is the PTR not being utilized as much as it could be? Is this fixable? Is Blizzard on top of this? Are they aware that there might be a slowdown in the pipeline for these updates, for these hot fixes? What is going on? why is the PTR seemingly not as useful as it could be, and why are all of these changes taking so long to be made clear to the Blizzard developers when us, the community, are very much aware of them for a very long time, and even trying to make our voices heard on places like the Overwatch subreddit and the Overwatch forums. So unfortunately, I really don't have an answer to these questions today, but I figured raising this issue to you would be kind of interesting because Blizzard is kind of slow when it comes to pushing these updates out. And I guess you could say it's good because it gives them time to polish everything, but sometimes the delays are huge and the nerfs don't come out until after they're already placed into competitive or into the Overwatch live server. So really, I think the delay on PTR needs to be shortened, and Blizzard needs to just throw stuff out onto the Overwatch live servers and just see how it goes, if that's how changes are going to be made anyway. So anyways, that's what I wanted to talk about today. I want to know what your guys' opinions are. Let me know in the comments what you think of this. Is Blizzard kind of taking too long with this stuff? Are they not listening as closely as they could be? What do you think about it? Let me know. I'll check out your comments. But that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.